Hey allies, so today I want to show you some hip mobility exercises that you can do. So why would we want to increase hip mobility? Well, a few reasons. One, if you tend to have sciatic nerve pain, which the sciatic nerve comes from the spinal cord, runs through the pelvis and down the leg. So if you get numbness in your leg, if you have electric shocks down your leg, if you feel like you get like sleepy leg stuff, this is a great series of stretches to help alleviate that based off where the sciatic nerve runs through your pelvis around certain muscles. It will also increase your ability to get squat deeper on squats with proper form and mitigate the butt wink, which is something we've talked about before. If you don't know what that is, we have a different video on it, but it basically compromises your low back when you're squatting. So it can help, these stretches can help limit that from happening. And it also just helps to alleviate soreness from leg exercises, leg workouts like lunges, step-ups, squats, hip bridges, deadlifts. It can actually alleviate low back pain because we're relieving that sciatic nerve, but also we're not getting as much tight muscles around the glutes, the pelvis, the low back, that kind of thing. So check this out. First one, and I hope you guys should know this stretch already. Actually, I'm gonna do it this way so you can see better, is the 90-90 stretch, okay? Now with this, you want approximately a 90-degree bend in this knee and in that knee, okay? So you wanna adjust your feet accordingly to reflect that. Now, if you can't quite get that angle, if you're not very flexible, it's okay. You can make that angle more acute and still make the stretch effective, but we wanna eventually work towards 90 degrees. Now, there's a very specific technique right here that you need to know. You can't just get into this position. Notice how I'm leaning this way. You need to sit upright as much as possible, and then the hip that you're trying to stretch, you're going to scoop out and then sit down. So notice how I was here, I picked myself up, I scooped my hip out, and then I sat down. That's really important. And then from here, what I'm gonna do is try to line up my spine or my sternum with the angle of this leg bone, and then I'm gonna lay forward, tipping from my hips, okay? I'm not trying to round my low back. You can do that, but it is a lot harder to feel this stretch. So you're gonna tip forward from the hips, leaning forward. And notice I'll put my hand here to prevent my foot from sliding in. And depending on your flexibility, I mean, you might feel that stretch here, you might feel it here, you might have to break a posture and go all the way down to feel it. But I want you to try to keep that posture and try to touch your sternum to your knee without rounding your low back. That will help give you that stretch in that hip. So that's this angle. Now it's really simple to get into the other side. There's two ways you can do this. There's the easy way and the hard way. You pivot your hips just like that. You do a 180-degree turn. Now look, I'm already in that same position, but I do want to, again, check this hip and scoop it out and then tip forward from there, keeping that straight angle in my back, okay? And then you would hold and breathe. Like I've said in other videos, I like a 30-second stretch. Now, the other way to get into this is to just simply pivot around. Instead of doing this, right, I would pick this leg up, swing, and spin on my butt to get into the other side. But that one's a little bit more complicated, more like a breakdance move. So I'll show you this angle just so you can see with this leg on the front side of the camera. So same thing here, I scooped my hip out. I'm gonna keep my back straight and tip forward. Okay, hopefully my hand isn't blocking that angle. All right, so I'll try to hide it right there, okay? Great stretch for the muscles that basically do this with your legs, that rotate outward. Glute stretch, and then we call those the deep hip rotators. So that will help alleviate some of those issues. If this causes pain, because some people with hip issues, that might cause pain. So what I want you to do then is what we call a figure 4 stretch. So from here, I'm gonna lay on my back. I am then gonna take one of my legs and bring the outside of that ankle onto the top of this knee. And then from there, this is creating kind of like that. If you can see from this angle, you'd see a figure 4 almost, okay? Now from here, I want to flex my hips and bring this up towards my upper body. I'm gonna take this hand, I'm gonna reach it through my legs and wrap around my knee. And then this hand is gonna come around the other side. Make sure that my ankle stays on there. From here, I'm going to try to keep this knee pushing out, and I'm gonna try to use my hips and arms to bring this knee to my chest, okay? Big inhale, big exhale. and the whole time I am still trying to push this knee out. That's going to stretch the glutes and those deep hip rotators with a little less pressure, okay? And then you would go ahead and bring it down, switch legs, bring that one up. This hand, the other hand, goes through and around to the kneecap. This comes on the outside. Big inhale, exhale. Okay, so that is what we call the figure 4 stretch, and that's a great alternative to the 90-90 stretch. Last one. You've probably seen this one. It's pretty common. We're going to take this foot from a normal seated position here. This foot is going to go to the outside of this leg. Okay, I'm going to try to hug that knee as tight as possible. Okay, then from here I'm going to use this hand to balance. And sometimes this might be enough of a stretch for you, but for people who have more flexible hips and glutes, then what they would want to do is put this hand back, take this arm, and bring that elbow to the outside of the knee. This is also really good for the low back as well. Then from here, again, more flexibility required. Take this hand to the outside of that shin, okay? And then you'll feel a nice good stretch through here. And if you inhale and exhale, you can twist into it a little bit further, and you get a nice low back stretch, okay? But like I said, sometimes this alone can be enough of a stretch for you, depending on the person. And then you would just switch sides, bring that foot over, so you can see another angle, pull it in tight and snug, either hold here, or hand goes back. This one comes over, elbow goes there, or really your tricep, the back of your arm, and then hand on the outside of the calf, and then again, inhale, exhale, turn into it, stretching this glute right here. Okay? Actually, I do want to show you guys one more. This one will be a little bit more challenging for some of you, but what you can do is either go into a wide sumo stance, which means about a 45-degree angle in the rotation of your feet, essentially, and then you're going to sit real deep. Actually, I'll go a little bit more this way. Real deep into a sumo squat, keeping your knees out. Okay, don't let them cave in like this. You want to keep them out by activating your glutes and trying to touch the floor with your fingertips right here, okay? This is pretty tough because you have to hold a squat. And you can even, if you have really tight internal thigh muscles or adductors, you can use your elbows to push those knees out. And I'm actually getting an inner thigh stretch right now going on too, as well as opening up my hips. So this is a great position. Now that obviously is going to cause your legs to work pretty good. You can also do this in a normal squat as well. Get a little bit deeper and push out. Now notice I am trying to keep my back straight while I do this. This is going to require a lot of mobility, so a lot of you might find yourselves in this position here. Okay, so that is something that may not be good for your back, but if you feel like this position is okay for you, you can start to work on your hip mobility. And then actually, I just remembered I can do one other stretch with the hips for you here. We'll pull this bench into frame. And what you can do is, similar to the figure 4 stretch, is you would lay your leg on a bench, on a chair, on an ottoman, a leg rest, something like that at your home, okay? And then that way it doesn't put this back leg in as much of a radical angle. And from here, you can tip forward and mimic the same as the 90-90 stretch or the figure 4 stretch right there. Another way to make that more challenging is do this stretch on the edge, okay, of a bench, chair, ottoman, etc. And then you'll be able to go deeper. So your leg will have to be right there, and then you see I can take this angle lower than the angle of the bench. So I'm getting a really good glute stretch now. Just be mindful, sometimes this causes pressure in the knees. So if you have knee issues, just be mindful of that, okay? So, hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know if that was helpful. If you have other questions, other stretches you want to see, leave your comments below and we'll get to them. Thanks, guys. See ya.